Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Beyond the Stride, our latest interview series here at the Stride Report. I am Garrett Zatlin. You usually hear me on the Blue Oval podcast, another Stride Report podcast that we have here in our network. But usually Isaac Basten, one of our interview hosts here at Beyond the Stride, he's the one usually doing these interviews. But Isaac is actually our guest for today, and for good reason. Isaac, I would ask you how you're doing, but I feel like I already know the answer. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's very fair. I think these last couple of days has been probably the hardest mentally I've ever went through something mentally in my running career. So it's just about moving on, I guess. But yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough for sure.
So for those of you who are unaware of maybe what happened, Isaac was considered one of 3 or 4 title contenders this past weekend at the NCAA Indoor Championships in the mile. Isaac, unfortunately, and this is just a high level overview of what happened. Isaac, unfortunately, was tripped, fell with what would you say, 600 to go?
Yeah, yep. It was just less than 600 meters to go. Yep.
600 to go. Carson Williams of Furman falls in front of him. Isaac then trying to get around him, jumps, gets clipped. He goes down. He then protests. Everyone assumes that he would move on. The protest is shockingly denied. So before we go into the protest and before we go into anything else, let's talk about the actual fall itself. Let's talk about where you were in the race, the lead up to that moment. Can you walk us through what that kind of time and moment looked like?
Yeah, for sure. I was there's a point in every race where you start to get impatient if you're in the back. And I would say that time was coming in about 30 seconds for me. I was just looking at where I was, and I knew I wanted to move with just less than 400 to go. That straightaway, actually right after the 400 meters to go mark, was where I planned on moving. And I essentially just need to get one more lap to get to that point. But I don't even know what happened in front of me. The Furman guy all of a sudden just started falling, and it almost looked like I was in a slow motion action movie. Like he fell down really slowly, and like I couldn't ever tell if he was like fully falling down or if he was gonna like catch himself and be okay and keep going. And so I think like that tripped me up, and so I wasn't like really aware of what was going on. And then finally when he did fall, I did kind of get out of the way, but his leg actually like just kicked up while he was on the ground and clipped my foot when I was trying to run by him. And I don't know if you ever played any other sports in your life, like football and stuff, but that's how you tackle someone in those sports. And so like there was no way that I wasn't going to fall as soon as my foot got clipped. It was kind of over at that point.
Yeah, I think I saw somewhere it was like, well, he could have just gotten out of the way better. I'm like, I mean, yes. I mean, look, you jumped, you did try, and for a second I was like, oh, he's going to be okay in that split second that I saw you kind of try to jump. But if you watch the replay, you're right, very distinctly, in just what is almost a freak accident, Williams' foot just randomly flies up just as you're like crossing over him, and from that point, it's a hard fall. You face planted pretty hard, man. Did that hurt?
Yeah. I have cuts all over my body. My knees, my face is hurting a little bit, my shoulder. And yeah, it was the most painful shower of my life after that race.
Yeah, I did not even think of that part. So you fall, the field goes on. Carson's, I guess, to your left. What are the thoughts? What are the emotions? You do get up and continue to run, but like, how do you process that 3-second moment that happens right there?
I think it was fear, really. And not fear as in like, oh no, I'm not going to qualify, because my coach and I had prepared for this. Like if falls like this happen, I know all I have to do is get up and finish, and generally you can protest and generally you'll get your way in, is usually how it works. So I was prepared for it in that sense, but the sense that I wasn't prepared for was like the danger, and because it was a really, really hard fall. And so when I got up, there was a split second where I was like, is anything broken?
Yeah.
And then when you make those first few strides and you feel all right, it's like, okay, we're good. Now it's just about finishing and then hoping the protest gods go our way.
So that happens. You finish the race. Did you ever talk to Carson Williams or Furman after that prelim finished?
No, I didn't. I talked to him a lot beforehand, but I talked to the Furman coach quite a bit. And the Furman coach was actually was really trying to help me. Like he was over there saying like this guy deserves to be in the final. Like what happened to him was a freak accident. And so um the Furman coach was really out to bat for me. And I was never mad at the Furman athlete. I was never mad at anyone really. It was such a freak accident, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just stuff you can't really predict and it's no one's fault. But at the same time I obviously did think that I should have made the final, which didn't happen. But yeah,
Right. So you and I briefly exchanged a few texts, and we're like, I'm convinced, you're convinced, your coaches are convinced, you're going to move to the finals. Like you said, freak accident. It was not even something that you were directly involved in. You were just the victim of someone else's fall, right? And you did try to get out of the way, and you did finish the race. And I'm like, I don't know what the argument is for why Isaac would not get into the finals. I feel pretty good about that. And then you don't. Your protest is denied. So, two questions here now. A, what was the reasoning for your protest being denied from the officials? And then B, did you try to appeal? Those are my two
yeah.
questions.
So we definitely did try to appeal, and I wish I could tell you why my protest was denied. And my coach and I both asked the two committee members that make that decision. We asked him plenty of times, and he actually said, and I quote, that he doesn't have to provide us with the rationale as long as both of them agree on it. Then it doesn't matter. And so I think that was probably the most frustrating part in all of it is that the protest was denied for, in my opinion, an unjustifiable reason. And then to build off of that, they couldn't justify it. They didn't. And I thought it was extremely disrespectful. And yeah, and for someone that for a long time has been like really trying to mentally get over like um the rage stuff that happens to me sometimes and like controlling the uncontrollables. It was really hard for me to deal with that. Because I felt like you assume that um people are gonna make the right decision and the decision for the common good, you know? And so to have officials just completely steal an opportunity from you, is it really just sucks.
Yeah, and I wrote in our article, First Thoughts article on the site now that you can go check out at thestrideport.com. But I wrote and I said, if someone said we think as the officials and as the committee here that Isaac could have gotten out of the way, or we think that Isaac put himself in a bad spot by putting himself, that close to Carson Williams, I maybe wouldn't agree with it, but at least there is some nuance, some level of justification behind it. And I'd be like, awful, stinks, and we move on. The not having a reason. And then also, for really you telling me, hey, apparently I was not impeded, which there is clear video evidence that you were. Like, this is not me being biased. That it is clear cut. You were impeded, no doubts about it. To then say you were not impeded was, I think, shocking to me. So I don't know if there's anything more further you want to comment on that, but when you do have all of this, and it now an hour after that prelim, I mean, what are the thoughts that kind of go through your head now when you're trying to win a mile national title and potentially go pro, following the spring?
Um, that's a great question. And honestly, I felt like there was a lot of pressure on me this weekend. I come up close a lot, and I hadn't been able to do it, and it was really disappointing. And I knew going into the race, Luke Hauser is the guy to beat. I mean, he won it last year. He was the fastest in the regular season, and I have a tremendous respect for Luke Hauser, and I think he does for me as well. And I think we both kind of knew it was going to be a battle, and but I was really excited for it, and I think he was really excited for it too. And um, to watch that final afterwards and watch Hauser win, I was very, very happy for him because he was the best during the regular season, and he proved he was the best in that final, which is unbelievable. But then there's also that second part of me that's like, would I have been able to do it? I don't know. And the disappointing thing is I'm gonna have to live the rest of my life not knowing whether I could have done it. And after working as hard as I have, like for the summer, and getting through the stomach stuff that I did during the fall, like for this moment, and like to try to beat this unbelievable runner in Luke Hauser, it was like this was the time where like I want to see if I can do it. And it just sucks to not know. But that's just the reality we live in, and I think moving on from it's going to be really, really tough, but it's something that I obviously have to do if I want to have a successful career down the line. So
Well, the good news here is that you still have the outdoor track season, and that at least offers a chance at redemption. And also, the outdoor track is much bigger. It's a little bit harder, not a lot harder, but it's a little bit harder to fall. So something to consider there in that aspect. I thought it was interesting. Can you tell me? You had mentioned that you had just talked to an agent in passing, I guess, about some implications. What can you walk me through what that conversation was like?
yeah, so obviously we know that the running market is not massive like in comparison to other sports like football and like basketball and stuff, but it I think people have made it very clear to me that if I want to be, I'll have an opportunity to be a professional runner. And kind of the the debate about it is how much I'm worth. And I think the problem for me is I think I'm worth a lot more than the stuff that I've been told will probably be coming my way, or at least like the ballpark of that. And generally how to raise your value, or in some cases double and triple it, is winning these meets. And so like that's part of the reason why I thought there was so much pressure on me, because like obviously NCAA athletes aren't paid, but I felt like on some level I had like $50,000 to $70,000 like just in contract money like per year, like on the line in these meets. And so like for me going into it, I was like, hey, like there's no prize money in the NCAA, but there essentially is, because this meet
The
sets me up
implications.
for the offer to follow. Exactly. And so yeah,
Just
I
to clarify, before we go on, you're saying 50, 70K, not, you're just saying total, not extra, not marginal, right?
it really depends. Like I think like a lot of athletes are paid like in the 40 to 60K a year range for getting all Americans, and I think a lot of them are making six figures once they win a title. So I think yeah, in some levels it is a compounded answer. Yeah, maybe not quite like the 70 range, maybe closer to like the 40 or 50 range, but I feel like on some level today or not today, 2 days ago, I did lose a significant amount of money for something that was completely out of my control. And I think the the frustrating part is I have had opportunities to win in the past and I've failed. And I'll be very honest about the ways I've failed, like whether it's tactics, whether it's just bad luck. And it's always been Washington athletes that have won, like Luke Hauser won indoor, Wascom won outdoor, Nathan Green won outdoor. And so like these guys are going to be set up for life because of what they've done, which is unbelievable. And they 100% deserve that. But I want to also be a guy that like is done and like deserves that, 100% deserves that. And I wanted to be a guy that was like 5 years from now, people looked back and they're like, oh yeah, the Washington boys dominated and Isaac Basten dominated. But and so now to lose one of two opportunities where people will be able to say that about me, it puts even more pressure on me for outdoor to compete and be at that level.
Well, Isaac, I'm sorry that this happened to you, but I appreciate your candid answers here, and you just coming on and just kind of talking us and walking us through it. Um, we are wishing you the best of luck in the spring. We will definitely be seeing you back here on Beyond the Stride. But before you go, what is the one major takeaway that you saw while you were at the national championships that you don't think anyone else maybe recognized if they were to watch the stream?
I think on the stream, the fall isn't really. It's a bad camera angle. I went back and looked at it, and you don't really see me falling, but I think the image you posted on Instagram is very candid about what happened, and I don't think people realize that I was very much so tripped on my foot, like while I was running full speed, and I I get that I commented on Adam Fogg's post a little while ago that falling down was the best prelim strategy, and I definitely regret commenting that now because that was obviously a joke at the time. And so for any of those people out there, and I've gotten a few DMs that think I may have fell on purpose. I promise you, man, it hurts and it's not fun. So I definitely did not fall on purpose. So just want to cancel out those rumors.
Yeah, if there was ever a time to fall, the last 400 meters is probably the last thing Isaac would ever want to do because that's where he's best. Um, Isaac, thank you again. I believe we're gonna have hopefully another interview up here soon. But in the meantime, go rest up, go enjoy training, and we will be talking to you very soon.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.